Hi kids, I wrote a metaphorical segue to the 4th of July by declaring my independence from OpenAI. I'm no longer using any OpenAI online services. No Chat-GPT, no GPT-4, not even Whisper. I might change my mind on that one because that one's actually open source. Wish me luck. Removing my credit card from OpenAI's website by design, that's not a thing that can happen. Now I'm going to skip the whole kind of segue metaphor about the 4th of July because I got kind of bored with that and I couldn't get the background, so I'm pretend I'm in this federal library and that this somehow makes sense, but whatever. I'm going to skip my rant about OpenAI because the negatives they keep accumulating, so I'm not going to over-explain this one. I refuse to be baited into making a reaction video on their latest publicity stunt. There's a new one every week. And aside from that, I think OpenAI is not very reliable, and it's censored. I know they just dropped the price, but that doesn't make it better. They're just trying to make it like everyone has to put OpenAI in their app. So basically, GPT-4, Chat-GPT, it's just a mid-level marketing scam now. The actual product is irrelevant because it can't be separated from the hype. So I found an alternative. It's an open source chat client, but don't let that throw you. I've been following this one for about a month or so. In my opinion, it was not quite ready until now. It just leveled up with their latest release, and I feel like this is something I can talk about now because this is something I can actually use, and therefore maybe something that you can also use. So here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to throw OpenAI Appy into Boston Harbor because we're never going to need it again. I swear that's the end of my 4th of July references. Now instead of being under the tyranny of OpenAI, we're going to run our own large language model locally because it just got a lot easier. Now there's a polished user interface. It installs and runs as a standalone app on your computer. It's private. It's free. There's no subscription, no end of the world apocalypse, and no fear and controversy marketing. And it's as easy to use as Chat-GPT. Now, but wait, there's more. Now, for Apple Silicon users on Metal, it's faster than connecting online to some collab with server GPUs and A100s and blah, blah, blah. Because we're running on Apple's low-power ARM chips, it's not setting Canada on fire as much. Now, what is this miracle? It's called GPT4All. I hate that name. And I know you've already seen some GPT4All videos. It was one of those Python GitHub things that, it's fidgety, it's academic, it uses terminal commands, and it communicates to a chunky web server. There's a reason I didn't talk about GPT4All before. This is the neg. So just a bit of forewarning. If you looked into open source GPT, not necessarily this one, but any of them, and it looked too wonky and not that reliable, you're right. It was up to now, and I'm not sugarcoating it. Large language community. It's a frontier town where people chew with their mouths open and cough on their hands. But you need these horrible backwards villagers because they know some of the local legends about the land just beyond the frontier. That place you want to go that's filled with cryptic large language models with different backstories and billion parameter rankings and quantizations, and you don't need to know any of this now. At least not just to use the chatbot in the way it was intended. It's been updated. It's ready. It's ready for normal people. So credit to the kids at Nomic. Their goal was clearly to take on Chat-GPT, and they did. So let's talk about what's new. This is Chat-GPT4All. Wait, this is GPT4All Chat Client. I'm going to say Chat and GPT a billion times in this, so forgive me if I get them mangled. All right, what does it do? It lets us load local language models from the hard drive. No internet needed. Doesn't need to be on the root drive, so it's not taking up our whole hard drive. Now, also, this chat client does connect to OpenAI API if you're a trader Benedict Arnold, and you add your API key to the chat client. But since we can run our own language models, we don't need OpenAI at all. Now, the chat client even has a built-in REST API server that works like OpenAI API. So whatever your current code is, it should be compatible as long as it's running on the same computer. You just have to change the network address from OpenAI's URL to a port on your local computer. Now, Nomic also has code bindings for C# and Python and some other coding languages. If you're building out an app or some web service, there's a path there for a back-end commercial use. And wait, there's more. The chat client has a plugin architecture. And it has one plugin so far. It reads from a local documents folder. Now this is, wait. This is not the same as dumping in your favorite novel and the chat client writes you a sequel using information from that novel. Okay, so it's not quite there. So this is for research papers, academic writing, maybe eventually legal writing where specific proofs need to be cited with footnotes. So that's what the local docs folder is. It's a work in progress by their admission, and this is not a feature I've tried, but keep your eyes open. There should be more plugins eventually coming soon. I don't know. All right, so now since we're running this on our local computer, your question is, how slow is this? So let me explain. This GPT runs on the CPU, so it's not dependent on your high-end video cards. Before this update, I was using the chat client on my Mac Studio, and it wasn't fast. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't fast enough for real-time applications. Maybe worth it to use a large uncensored model offline. But this update has accelerated Apple Silicon through Metal. It's now faster than connecting through an online service, depending on the model that you're using. It's even so fast. It's so fast that Nomic put a speedometer in the chat window. I'm not kidding. They really put a tokens processed per second -ometer. So you can see how fast it's processing. It really doesn't seem necessary, though, because it's obvious how fast it's running when the text fills in. Now, NVIDIA, if you are on one of those $1 million NVIDIA cards that are just burning up the environment, well, the support is pending. So sad for you. It's coming eventually. I don't have anything to report on that. Apparently, the unified memory through Apple Silicon was easier to port the large language models, and so that GPT4All can use all that memory and all that acceleration on Apple Silicon, but not on NVIDIA yet. I'm sure they'll get around to it as soon as it becomes possible. Now, the app itself is around 500 megs. The models that you download are several gigs, probably 4 to 7 gigabytes. Some are even 16 gigabytes. And I downloaded a model that was 30 gigabytes, and there are models even bigger than that. Since the entire model loads into your memory, there's a hard limit on what model you can load on your computer. It's about how much RAM you have. There were models I found on Hugging Face or referred through those unwashed peasants in the frontier town called Discord. And if you listen to them, the next model is always better and will solve all the problems because the pot of gold is always just over the next hill. My husband told me yesterday that AI can detect cancer and dementia, any minute now. And he's not what I would call a futurist. So this is just some bullshit he's heard on TV. And he's Dunning-Kruger the rest of it. He doesn't know what AI is. He couldn't tell you the difference in a large language model or machine learning. This is just something he wants to believe. And like all of us, there's only so much time to devote to scrutinizing the bullshit other people say because it's what they want to believe. So before now, I had to research each model one by one, try them out, and they aren't so great. To the point I'm wondering, am I even using this correctly? People keep telling me AI is writing their code and generating all their creative and financial decisions. Well, having tried it myself, I'm having a hard time believing it. Press X for doubt meme. All right, the reason that I communicate this to you is because there's a way to remove the bullshit from this equation. You just use the chat client from GPT4All. You don't need to research their dank Discord. You don't even need to leave the chat client now. This new version, the model's properties and RAM requirements are listed in the user interface. So you don't need to filter out the conspiracy theories and the misogynist suicide negging to get basic information about which model can fit on your computer. I'm not even kidding about the Frontier Town bullshit. I did it. And now you don't have to, because the best options are just ready to download through the interface. There are 3 I am about to recommend to you, but in all there's about 10 to 12, I don't know, a dozen different models that you are ready to download and use through the Chat-GPT4All interface, representing the best options across the various branches of research for all these large language models. If you want to explore how the different models work, try these first. You can't go wrong. I trust the guys at Nomic will add any new important models as they become available and compatible. I'm kind of done with the whole Frontier Town. On the flip side, if you do want to do that, you can go and download random models from Hugging Face, and that's literally what I've been doing for the past month, and I'm sharing the results of all that research with you now. And the results of all that research is Now, there is something to large language model chatbots. It's fun, maybe even usable, maybe, if you can separate the hype and the wishful thinking from the best models that actually work. So here they are. I'm going to share them with you now. It's July 2023, and right now the 3 best models are, drum roll, Falcon is the best small model that runs with only 8 gigabytes of RAM. It's got a commercial license, so you can use it in whatever you want commercially. The downside is it's kind of stupid. Now, it can't do basic math, and I mean basic, like subtraction. None of these chatbots should you be expecting to be logic or intelligent. That is all just a misnomer. Please do not get this twisted. That's one of the reasons that I think that you should be downloading these and using this on your own computer, so you can separate the nuttiness and the marketing hype from what's really possible. Now, Falcon does all the chatbot things. It can write you poetry. It can write you chat. It can write you fake dialogue or fake, whatever. It does tend to run out of memory, and then it will error out. Now, unlike OpenAI's Chat-GPT, when GPT4All goes bonkers, you see it go bonkers in the chat window. OpenAI hides these errors by telling you, as an AI, I'm not allowed to blah, 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 or I'm unable to complete it at this time. Well, it's gaslighting you. It's lying. So when GPT4All goes belly up, you just see it tossing that word salad, and you need to quit the generation or it will just go on with some stream of conscious poetry, word salad nonsense. Seeing the chatbot fail is an advantage, because now I have a better idea of what the model is capable of. It's not being hidden behind a layer of Microsoft bullshit lying to me and gaslighting me that maybe I typed in something wrong when it just failed. Now, Falcon is small, relatively. I think it's only like 7 gigs. I couldn't be sure. It says in the interface. So that's the model that you want if you have a lower RAM computer. Now, each model works a little differently, but only a little differently. Some were trained on instructions, some were trained on chat, and like so much chat that they'll throw you emojis at the end of every response. Like I said, feel free to, download those other models that are in the interface, explore how they're different. But I'm going to tell you my favorite model. And GPT4All even lists it as the best model right now, even over their own trained model. And it says right in the interface, this is the best model right now. The model is Hermes, or Nous Hermes. And y'all, this was eye-opening, to be honest. This model has changed my mind about all this chatbot GPT nonsense. Now, the catch is this is a non-commercial model. You are restricted to its license that it carried over from whatever open source things that it has borrowed from. That doesn't affect me because I want to use this chat client creatively, not commercially. So with Hermes, I was able to do an extended role play session. And that's where I instructed the bot to act as a character role play. And then I used the prompt to guide what happens to that character, kind of like a dungeon master. I was leading the character's story or their experience through my prompts. Now, Hermes stayed in character. It never broke. It never told me it was an AI and not allowed to blah, 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 blah. In fact, it was completely uncensored. And all the fun that can give you. When my prompt got longer, the responses got longer. I was able to tweak the responses in specific ways, asking for detailed descriptions, sensory information. What was the character thinking? How does he feel? What's he afraid of? And it was pretty creative, not too repetitive. Now, there are settings in the chat client that you can adjust if it will, repeat something. It's going to be penalized for that. I'm gonna talk about some of these in a minute. But mostly, I was just able to adjust my prompt and progress the story forward. This was an amazing way to work. Never before had I had a complete session where the chatbot didn't fail. My longest one so far was over 2,700 words. That's prompt and response back and forth. That alone, that impresses me. No crashes, no breaking character, no crazy word salad. And the roleplay content was surprisingly good. Now, this is the first time I felt like I was ever using a chatbot correctly. In a creative experience in real time with the bot following my lead. Hermes is, for me, a game changer. And if you look into its history, it was trained on exactly this kind of role play, like some kind of 300,000 extra sessions or prompts that are basically character role play, just like this. Try it. It's amazing. I would not tell you something that I did not believe in myself. So I have one more model to tell you about, and it's called Orca. And you'll have to forget my dorky little Orca artwork here. This is the one that everyone is saying is most like GPT-4. And that's because it was actually trained on GPT-4's output. Sometimes it even tells you it is GPT-4. And it's not allowed to blah, blah, because it's a GPT-4 OpenAI, blah, 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 blah. So if you love censored messages, and constantly being reminded in the response that you're using an AI and breaking character, because we're all fucking idiots who forget that we're using a chat bot. Yeah, Orca might be for you. No, now honestly, there are other advantages to using Orca. It comes in 3 Goldilocks flavors: baby bear, mama bear, and papa bear, each with different RAM requirements. And again, these are all listed in the user interface. Overall, Orca is very good. It's extremely fast on my Mac Studio. Even the big model is faster than Hermes, way faster than any service online. I'm shocked at how fast it is. Your mileage may vary. Now, Orca is very censored. In fact, a lot of times it's like needlessly censored. Like it gives you the censorship. I'm an AI, so I can't do that. And then it does it anyway. Whatever. Orca is a commercial model. It's probably the best commercial model today outside of, GPT-4 itself. Now, the last part of this video, I'm going to explain some of the UI settings. How to get this running and what's going on behind the scenes. So if you already know how to do this in OpenAI, there's really not any more actionable information in this video. Just go download GPT4All. But I will explain the last basic settings, and this is a general explanation for beginners. There's a lot of people going deeper into this online, so if you want the deep information, go ahead and shop around, look for other people's videos. I'm going to make this as easy as possible. Now, the 3 settings that you need to know are temperature, top P, and top K, and that's cryptic enough to need an explanation. There is a user interface in GPT4All, but I don't think it's enough information. You kind of have to know what you're doing. So temperature is basically randomness. Now, these language models are following the most likely path through a network of words. There's no intelligence here. It's just text completion. It's just an advanced, big network of text completion. And the bigger the model, the more examples it has of good text completion. That's why Falcon is sometimes stupid, because the model is just not big enough. So, you want the biggest model that your computer can run. So temperature is like the random path through this network of chat completion. Very low temperature, 0.1, 0.2, is more deterministic. It's going to only pick the most logical path, the best rated path through the text. So use low temperature for code or research data. It gives you fewer options, and they're generally more accurate. So you'll use high temperature, like a 0.8 or 0.9, for creative tasks. Fiction and role play, these are percentages represented as 0 to 1, and I think you can go over 1, but I'm not sure how effective that is when you start going would a temperature of setting of 1.5 actually get you 150% randomness? I'm not sure that makes sense, but feel free to try. Now, the next weird cryptic setting is called top P, and think of this as top probability or top percentage. That's not actually what it stands for, but just put that in your head. Top P is narrowing the choices according to their weight ranking. So this means that you are pooling the possibilities from all the answers that are most likely, because they're within the most likely percentages. They're being pooled through top P. So a low setting is like 0.1, this is pooling only from the top 10% ranking. A high setting of top P is casting a wider net, because the answers don't need to be as highly ranked for accuracy. It kind of sounds like the same thing as temperature, but the way that the probabilities work, it's a little bit different. Now the idea is that you work temperature and top P together. Temperature is randomness, while top P limits the pool of possibilities that the options are already passing to match. So you use these together. Low settings are narrower and more accurate. High settings are more creative, more random, and somewhere in the middle is what they say is good for chat. So 0.5, 0.6 for just a logical, not too repetitive conversation with your chatbot. Now the third setting is called top K. I don't have a mnemonic for you to remember what the K stands for. And this is just another way to slightly tweak the outcome. Top K redistributes the available choices, so lower ranked have better odds. This is after it gets passed through top P. Now the ranking doesn't get reordered, it's still in its order, but the distribution is smoothed out a little bit, so you don't need as, high a dungeon master die roll to get these other options. This is all math, not intelligence. This is probability math, okay? This is basically just rolling a d20 in Dungeons and Dragons. You're not really doing anything to the models. You're not making them more intelligent. You're not training them to do anything. It's just making a dice roll, making those rolls, the probabilities on those dice rolls a little differently. And if you want to know more, there's research and explanations of the math online. Go for it. But the long and the short of it is, it's okay to play around with these settings because there's a reset to the default settings button in the preference of GPT4All chat client. All you need to really remember is that these are percentages, 0 to 1. Low numbers are more deterministic, while high numbers will be more creative. Avoid using 0 and 1, which can break the math and might always give you a specific hard answer. All right, I think that's about it. Thanks for staying through this entire video. So I'm just going to recap real quick. My recommendation is to try GPT4All. It's now ready to use by normal people. The chat client is easy, it's self-contained, and other than a few cryptic math settings, you don't need any outside-the-box research to use it. It's free. For me, it works better than OpenAI Chat-GPT 3 and 3.5 Turbo, and even better than GPT-4, because I get the freedom to choose the models that I want, including uncensored models. And yes, that means exactly what you think it is. An uncensored model will tell you whatever you want to hear without the censorship. Now, with the update on my Mac Studio, the chat client has been accelerated with Apple's Metal, and that should work across any M1 or M2 Apple Silicon Mac. It's not really a thing that's working on iOS, so no recommendations there. Because GPT4All, in fact, probably any of these GPTs, it's a memory hog. You do need more RAM to run the bigger models, and it does take up memory. So while the model is loaded, it slows down all your other programs. You cannot use Stable Diffusion while you are using GPT4All. I mean, you can. It's just going to slow you down. Now, lastly, the most exciting part for me, the chat client has a built-in server that your apps can access through Common REST API, just like OpenAI API. All you have to do is change the address to your local computer's chat client address. I haven't done that yet. That's coming this week. I'm working on that this week. Now, this Independence Day, join me in overthrowing an oppressive tyrant. You can declare your independence from OpenAI with a now polished and user-friendly chat client from GPT4All. Have a great holiday, everybody, if you're in the United States, and have a great Canada Day. I'm sorry that you're on fire. We smell it from here. And the rest of the world, happy July. And y'all, avoid the AI apocalypse. Unplug OpenAI. Don't feed the monster. Download this crap on your own computer and just do whatever you were doing before, without the gaslighting, without the fake answers, without the smarmy lying AI. These you just get like bold-faced AI liars who don't know what they're saying, but they work a lot better. I'll talk to you soon, kids. Stay tuned. I'll have more news for you. I'm going to try to get all of this running in Unity, get my AI virtual assistant back online, but running without the annoying OpenAI Microsoft backend. Stay creative, kids. I will talk to you soon. Have a great holiday. Bye.